Salve discipuli and salve omnes. Welcome again to another episode of Latin in Layman's. I'm going to be doing some random words here this time around. I did a bunch of words ripping off of Pan, but also I thought about entertaining just some words etymologically when derived in its true sense of the word, that they have kind of very interesting historical connotations to them. So we get into decimate, we're getting into tragedy, we're getting into sinister versus dexter, and we're getting into ambidextrous. So if you're curious and wanting to learn a little bit more about words and the words that we utilize and all that good stuff throughout our day and whatnot, I'd love to have you stick on with me because you know what? I typically expect this kind of stuff, especially with social media, but it seems like the traction for Latin and layman's or the rhetoric revolution is starting to kind of dwindle a little bit. But I know that I got my loyal supporters here that are always showing up and wanting to learn something new. So I, I'm holding on to y'all. You guys rock. Be sure to spread the information, the knowledge, um, to anybody, friends, family, colleagues. Latin and layman's, a rhetoric revolution. You can find me on Spotify. I know that there's been some sort of like paywall thing that's going on with my Spotify, but stay tuned. Come the 15th, I'm talking to Spotify for podcasters because they're going to lift all those locked things because basically you got to subscribe. And I've never asked for people to subscribe to the Spotify or my, and I don't know how people actually can. So, yeah, I can't even listen to some of my things that I've published. So I'm kind of a little ticked off. I'll make sure to get that fleshed away so that everybody can start listening back up. You can listen to a lot, but some of them are just locked. I don't know what's going on. But that being said, we're going to leave it there. Okay, so with that being said, let's get on into it. Starting off with pandemonium, also where we get pandemic from. Pan, in this case, means all. It's not riffing off of the Greek god Pan as in panic, but Pan as in all, like Pangea. Remember, Gaia means earth or terrain, but more so earth. Pangea was the supercontinent, aka all of the earth essentially coming together until we ended up splitting apart and having all these other different continents. Demonium comes from the Latin daimon, which refers to either a demon or a spirit, whether, contextually, whichever one is more suited for that sentence or whatever translation you're doing. So, pandemonium refers to all the demons really, or all the spirits, but more so probably all the demons, because when we're in a pandemic or when we are dealing with pandemonium, it's just like this sudden arising of chaos, fear, anger. Lots of things arise from it, coming all from probably pretty ticked off people, aka demons, or maybe you're a spirit and you're stuck in purgatory. You're still a little bit ticked off too. Jacob Marley, right? Couldn't get out of purgatory because he kept on having that stupid thing tied to his ankle because couldn't let go of his money. Let go. Pandora, I don't know why I had to say that, but just like, come on, like you guys, like God money. Jeez. Pan meaning all, Dora again meaning gifted, or in this case, a perfect passive participial form, having been gifted, aka all. Having been gifted all, or all gifted essentially. And that's what Pandora is, right? Pandora's box, she was given that amongst other gifts because Hephaestus, the blacksmith of the Olympus, the Mount Olympus, um, had a lifeless body created of Pandora, presented it to the Council of the Gods. All the gods were like, here's a gift, 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 gift. I've mentioned it before in the past, but that's where we get it from. Pandora, all gifted, having been all gifted. Panic, however, right? Pan is the Greek god Pan, right? In the forest, what was Pan really responsible for a lot of the time? A causing of sudden and or irrational fear in the forest. So, ick just refers to pertaining to. Panic pertaining to irrational fear that Pan does when you're in the middle of the woods and you're all by yourself and skibbity bibbity bop. You know now you know. We'll get into decimate as our last one here. We're going to go to tragedy. Tragedy, tragos in the Greek means goat. Eggy coming from the old A. It's weird how they kind of like derive that, but comes from that. Don't at me. I wasn't consulted in the design phase of the making of these words. I'm just relaying the information, aka a goat song. Tragedy is a goat song. Why the heck, though? And it really kind of goes back to and harkens back in history, um, in dramatic plays back in Greek antiquity. Guys would dress up in the skins of goats in order to represent satyrs, right? Satyrs were just kind of like those mythological deities yeah. So if you didn't know, now you know. Sinister versus Dexter. Try my best with this one, but we have Sinister, which refers to my left hand, and then we have Dexter, which refers to my right hand. So Sinister, really odd. Sinister means evil. Dexter means right hand. Or it means left hand, but it also can refer to evil because back in the day, if you were left-handed, and maybe you had people that have told you to stop writing with your left hand, write with your right hand, but there has always been a negative connotation, whether it be witchcraft or whatever, or whether you were like, I don't know, any of the minority that was seen to be not a part of the order, essentially. So if you had the left hand, you were forced to take that pencil, slam it into the right hand, and learn it again. Because that's where we got Dexter. It's where we get dexterous from. Maybe you guys play some video games where you can put aspects of your character. You can put points into the dexterity. Dexter refers to right hand. Oddly enough, though, what about ambidextrous? Ambidextrous does not mean that you actually can write with both right and left hand. It just literally means right-handed on both sides. So there you go. Right was good, left was not, but hey, you know what? Keep on being evil, y'all, for those that write with the left hand. I don't, but I know people that do. Decimate is our last one, coming from decim, meaning 10. 8, the action of making tenths, essentially. And what was that? Well, a legionnaire, a Roman legionnaire, a centurion, a commander of 100 men, as a means of basically displaying something. He was ticked off. He'd have all of those guys lined up, all of his legionnaires in a line of 100, and he would count off by tens, kill the 10th until he got to the end. And then that really referred to a tenth of the legion being decimated because it was an example, because the centurion was kind of a poopy butthole, it sounds like, right? But that's actually etymologically where it comes from. And so we still have a little bit of time left. So if you didn't know, now you know. Comment below if you have any questions. But again, things like all this demons referring to pandemonium. Also, it's where we get, well, I don't have this here, but thinking about pandemic, it's where we get quarantine. Quarantine, actually from the Latin, I am going to mispronounce it, so I'm not going to, but it actually comes from 40 days. So that's what quarantine actually comes from back in the day. Because when you quarantine, core and teen, brain fart. With that being said, I hope you learned something new. I'm kind of tired today, as you guys can see, but I'm always bringing you some sort of content if I can. Tempus est discedere.